And now we're ready to put it all together into a system because systems are key when it comes to your business finances. The first thing you're going to want to do is pick a program. So these are some examples of the programs or systems that you can use to track your bookkeeping. We've talked about a spreadsheet before. Obviously, that is the simplest and most bare bones option. So spreadsheet / Google spreadsheet. Wave is a great option that I use a ton and highly recommend because it is free to use. So a lot of starting business owners appreciate Wave. It is user-friendly and it is free. FreshBooks is a very popular option with creative entrepreneurs, especially people like designers, editors, developers, people who like beautiful invoices, people who need to have detailed invoices and track projects with time tracking, and possibly have team members track time. FreshBook is a great option for that. It lacks certain features in the expense side of it. So it is not a full-fledged accounting program, but there are ways to work within it, and it is better than nothing. QuickBooks is probably the one you've heard the most. It has been the industry standard for a long time. There is a desktop version, which I do not recommend for most creative business owners and for people who are already wanting to take their business management online. So there is QuickBooks Online. There's a couple different options there. And Xero is another growing online accounting software. They're really great. They have, again, different levels of subscription, and they even have a couple subscription levels that are only available through a Xero certified partner like myself. So you definitely want to take some time and do your research. I do have a few reviews of some of these programs on my website, whaleybookkeeping.com, and you will be able to see some webinars and other things that I'll be listing in the resources tab of this lesson, and also growing courses on those. I want to talk to you quickly about accounting methods because this is something that confuses people, especially when they're going to file their actual tax return, and maybe when you're setting up a system, it'll ask you a question about this. So there's technically two methods for tracking your income and expenses. The first is the cash method. So you'll hear sometimes, are you on the cash basis? Cash basis or cash method means that you count the income when you get paid and you count the expenses when you pay them. So the majority of freelancers and solopreneurs are operating on the cash basis. When the money hits your bank account, you count it as paid. When the money comes out of your bank account, you count that as an expense. The other method is called accrual. This is the more official accounting method for bigger businesses, but there are small businesses that use accrual as well. And this method, you count income when it's earned. So as soon as you create an invoice for that project, for that client, then it's counted as income because you've earned the income whether they've paid you or not. And you count the expenses when they are used. So when you receive your bill. So if you receive a bill for your internet service on September 15th, but it's not due to be paid until October 15th, you would still count that as an expense in September because that's when you used those services. So that's the very basic difference between cash and accrual. One thing you should be aware of is that some accounting softwares are default on accrual method if you use invoicing, such as Wave. So it could confuse you on some of the reports. So just do your research when you are setting up an accounting system and know that some of those have a little bit of workaround for that. Now, once you have chosen a system that you want to do, the first thing you're going to do is create your categories. So we've already reviewed this, but I'll go again. We first want to create your income types. So you can have just one income type or you can have multiple income types. Then you want to make sure you create your cost of goods sold categories. These are only for people who are selling physical products. So if you sell on Etsy, if you sell personal care or nutritional products that you're buying stock, then you want to create your cost of goods sold categories. And lastly, you want to make sure that you create and customize your expense categories. So if you need to review the previous lessons on what types of categories will work best for you, feel free to go back and review those lessons. And I did want to make a quick note about inventory, that if you sell physical products, you will need to keep track of inventory. So for a basic resale business, you order something wholesale from your supplier and then you list it either on your website or put it for sale up in your shop or your office. You can use something as simple as a spreadsheet, or you can use inventory software. There are a number of different softwares or online companies that can track inventory for you. Some of the higher levels of accounting software, such as QuickBooks or Xero, can also track inventory directly inside of the accounting software. So that's something you also want to consider when you are trying to pick a system. If you need to have inventory play into this, you may want to pick something that has those capabilities. If you are a maker or a manufacturer, so say you run an Etsy shop that you hand make something or you manufacture a product from raw materials, then there's going to be a lot more involved with your inventory because you're purchasing those raw materials to create finished goods. So I really highly recommend that you connect with an accountant who can work with you on building a good inventory system. There are some just awesome people that really specialize in this, especially in manufacturing. So feel free to contact me and I can refer you to someone or talk to some local accountants near you and see who specializes and has a good understanding of manufacturing inventory. Okay, so you have picked your system, you have created your categories, and now if you're using an online accounting software, you're going to connect your accounts. So every single online accounting software allows you to directly connect your bank accounts so the transactions are automatically pulled into the program. This is done through online banking. So as long as you have online banking, you will be able to connect to one of the systems. I will say that some of the smaller banks and credit unions may not be supported on all the accounting programs, but there are workarounds. So, Wave may not support all of the smaller credit unions, whereas QuickBooks will import directly from them because it's a bigger, stronger program. So that's something you may want to research when you are looking at your systems and which system you're picking is, does it connect with your bank or credit union? Or vice versa, you really love using this type of software. I love Wave or I love FreshBooks, but it doesn't connect with my bank. Do I love my bank so much that I have to stay with it? Or is it maybe better to switch to a larger bank that will connect with this system? That's completely up to you. So now that you have your system, you've opened your account or created your spreadsheet, if you're using the online software, which I recommend. So you've created your categories, you've connected your bank accounts, things are starting to flow into the system, and now what do? So first, let's talk about our daily, weekly tasks. The first thing, obviously, you're going to want to do is to enter and categorize your transactions. So enter your income enter your expenses. If you are a service-based business and you need to create invoices, then this will involve creating your invoices and possibly sending them to your clients. So your bank will hopefully feed in all of your expenses, or maybe a credit card that you're using, or you can connect your PayPal account, all of those things. So everything is flowing into one place, and then you can view and categorize all of those transactions. So that's your number one step. Number two is to review your income and expenses to see where your money's coming from and where it's going to. So this could be as simple as scrolling through your transaction screen or your banking screen, depending on what software you're using, and just looking at, oh, this person pays me a lot of money this month, or, oh, I got this new client, or that client is not paying me as much as they used to because I don't have as much work from them. Or if you're more of a sales base, it's, oh, this product is selling really well, but this one is not. Just start to pay attention to those things. Like we talked about in the last lesson, you will begin to see those patterns of income and expenses as you take the time to actually look at what's coming in and going out. And the third thing is that if you do have invoices, you want to make sure that you don't have any overdue invoices, and take the time to contact the clients who are past due, or possibly send invoice reminders. So I know that Wave and FreshBooks both have invoice reminders that are built in, so you can set it to automatically send a reminder of an unpaid invoice after a certain amount of days. The other two companies have apps that can do this sort of thing for you. So just take the time to make sure that you're getting paid on time. And if you need to make adjustments to your contracts, if you need to make adjustments to your invoicing, or maybe a client really doesn't like to pay via PayPal, but they would pay you with their direct credit card. Maybe you need to make a change there so that they can pay you faster. The next thing is monthly tasks. So number one is reconcile all your accounts. I'm going to talk about that in more detail in the next slide. So don't worry if you have no idea what that word means, but we are going to reconcile your accounts. Second is we're going to review your profit and loss report. It's also called an income statement. So every type of accounting software is going to have reports that you can pull, and the profit and loss report is the most basic one that you can do. And you can also create this inside of a spreadsheet, or you can purchase or download a pre-formatted spreadsheet that will kind of create this report for you as you enter in all of your transactions and enter in all of your income and expenses. And the last thing you're going to do is to transfer any money that needs to go to savings for taxes, future expenses, or paying yourself. So you want to make sure that once your business is up and running, you know you're going to have a profit, or you see based on your profit and loss report that you have a profit, you can pay yourself. So don't be afraid to pay yourself, even if it's just a little bit in the beginning. Okay, let's go back and talk about what is reconciling. What the heck is that? Okay, so what reconciling is that you are verifying that your accounting system and your bank accounts match. So this actually includes your bank accounts, your credit cards, your PayPal, your Stripe, your Square, all of that. And it makes sure that none of the transactions were missed, and it makes sure your accounts are in balance. So some systems, this is going to go really fast, versus other systems, it takes a little bit more time. If you are doing your bookkeeping by hand, say in a spreadsheet, it's sometimes faster to print out or have a PDF of your bank statements and highlight every transaction that got entered into your system. Reversely, in most accounting systems, there's a way to check it, verify it, reconcile it. There'll be different ways in different softwares. The only one that doesn't allow you to do this, again, is like FreshBooks. So you would have to do it by hand on your account statements. So you want to make sure that the money that you say you got, you actually got in your bank account. The money that you spent, you actually spent. The money that you transferred between different accounts got transferred. And the last thing that is really important to do once you've set up your system is to look at your reports. So there's the two most important reports in accounting software is going to be your profit and loss statement, otherwise known as your income statement. So we already talked about that a little bit. This just breaks down how much money you brought in, how much money went out, what your profit is. A balance sheet is going to show how much money is owed to you. So your accounts receivable, how much money you may owe, what is the actual balance on your bank account, what's the balance on your PayPal account, what's the balance on your credit card, how much money do you owe other people. So if you are properly reconciling your accounts in your accounting software, then your balance sheet will be accurate. The balance sheet is also where it shows how much of owner's draw or owner's investment you've done based on the time period that you set for those reports. So all of these reports you can set for a certain time period, a month, a year, a quarter. It all depends on the software. I always suggest reviewing it at the end of every month, like we talked about, and just making sure, you haven't missed any transactions, everything's categorized. And then obviously you want to review it at the end of the year, and your year-end profit and loss statement is what you're going to use to prepare your tax return. Some other important reports that your software may pull is accounts receivable, or AR is a term you may hear thrown around. So again, accounts receivable is just people that owe you money. So those overdue invoices that are unpaid. And usually you can see it based on how long it's been since that invoice was due. Accounts payable is money you owe to other people. So especially if other people are sending you invoices, like you owe them money and you're entering it into your system that you owe them that money, but you're not paying them yet, then you'll be able to track how much you owe. Another one that I find very useful is your expense by vendor, or how much you paid a vendor. This is particularly important if you hire subcontractors. So you have assistants that you pay on a contract basis. They're not employees, and you want to see how much you've paid that person over an amount of time. So there should be a report similar to expense by vendor. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what a P&L or profit and loss statement looks like. So this is Wave Accounting. I use this a lot for various businesses that I work with, and I also use it as demo. So this is a business that is not real. This is my Etsy demo shop, but I wanted to show you in Wave, they call it the income statement. And I've set the dates for last year, 2015. And you can see it's going to break down by the different categories how much income I had. So revenue is your total income. Everything that money you've brought in is revenue. And see how I have it broken down into different income types. So again, you can have multiple income types. You can have one income type. But now I can see, combining all of these together, this is my total revenue or total income for this time period. Now, since this is an Etsy business and they have products that they sell, these are its cost of goods sold. If you are a direct service business, you won't have this category. You won't have this section. So don't worry about it if it's not there for you. But certain types of things do fall under cost of goods sold. And like I said in the past, it's a pretty more in-depth subject than I'm going to cover in this course. But I've tried to give you guys as many resources as possible so that you can go and learn more about that. And then the other thing you're going to see are your operating expenses. So these are your normal everyday expenses. So things like rent, computer hosting, so like your website hosting, office supplies, apps and subscriptions. We've talked about that. Advertising. So, this particular business didn't have a lot of expenses right then. And then, so you can see the subtotals of each category, and then it's going to show you your net profit. So your net profit is how much money you made after expenses. This is the amount of money that you are going to be taxed on for your income tax. And we'll go into that more in depth in the tax lesson, so don't worry. But your net profit is how much money you actually get to keep. So you collected this much money, but you had a lot of expenses, and so this ends up being your net profit. So as we are thinking about financial statements and, reports, they're like a report card for your business. That's why they're called reports or financial statements. So use them as a tool to learn about your business and to grow. One of the financial gurus, I hate that word, but one of the financial gurus that I really admire is Dave Ramsey. And one of the things that he says is that you can either wonder where your money went or tell your money where to go. So if you are reviewing your financial statements, if you're doing your bookkeeping, then you're going to know where your money needs to go, and you're going to make those adjustments so that you're not just wondering, where did all the money go, when you're scrambling at the end of the year to get all your receipts and things together for taxes. If you're building this system and you're taking it seriously, you're going to know a lot more about your business, and you're going to feel a lot more confident about the financial state of your business.